Joining us now, Republican Congressman of South Dakota, Dusty Johnson. Thanks for coming on the program. Congressman, when the Speaker says he is working through, what does that mean? What are your observations about getting this bill to where I know you want it to be, which is the finish line?
I mean, the holdouts are concerned about good policy. They want to make sure that this bill, particularly in areas related to Medicaid, move our country in the right place. I spent 2 hours at the White House this morning with President Trump, Dr. Oz, the vice president, and they did an excellent job of helping members understand the real impacts. I'm going to give you one example. So there are some Senate reforms to state-directed payments. There have been accusations on the other side of the aisle that guts Medicaid. The reality is these revenues are brand new. They were not in the system a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. These new higher limits were just put into place in the final days of the Biden administration. Hospitals did not need them to survive a year or 5 years ago. Going back to the old limits is not going to be a problem.
So hospitals, rural hospitals in your state, other Republican states who are saying, and by the way, the organizations that represent them, who say it is going to decimate them, that they are already, many of them, on edge, and many of them believe that they will have to close or cut back essential services. They just don't get it?
No, it's not true. And it's not going to impact South Dakota because we don't play the same games some of these states play. So where are the reforms? The reforms are in lowering provider taxes. South Dakota doesn't have one. The reforms are moving the state-directed payments down to a limit, which, again, was in place during the Obama administration. It wasn't evil or draconian back then. I hope everybody can forgive me for feeling like if it was okay then, it's probably okay now. But South Dakota doesn't have the state-directed payments either.
Some of those were increased, Congressman, because I was covering the Obama administration at the time. Some of those were increased because so many rural hospitals were already closing. There were people who had to go 30, 50 miles, even further to get care, which is not exactly great if you're in a life-threatening situation.
No, but that's why this $50 billion transformation fund is so important. Those are going to be the resources that Congress, the administration, governors of all types will be able to utilize in those unique situations you're talking about. The reality is state-directed payments have been a scam. They allow Medicaid not to charge at the Medicaid rate in most states or the higher Medicare rate or the higher insurance rate or the higher commercial rate, but in some cases 300% of the commercial rate. That's not assistance for rural hospitals. That's a scam.
So you're saying essentially that the $880 billion in cuts to social programs can all be accounted for by waste, fraud, and abuse?
Well, in many cases, yeah, overwhelmingly. In some instances, there are good policy changes. I'll give you an example. When you look at the SNAP program, some people call that food stamps, the bill has a state cost share, just skin in the game. For states like South Dakota, that would be 5%, and you'd get 4 or 5 years to ease into that additional cost share. South Dakota's error rate in food stamps, which are a state-managed program, is a little over 2%. In some states, that error rate is 10, 12, 14%. There's no reason for an error rate that high. They've been playing fast and loose with the management because it's not their money, it's federal money. The changes that we make into this bill will reduce waste, fraud, and abuse, and it will give states some skin in the game.
A lot of your colleagues, and we could continue to talk about this if we had more time, but a lot of your colleagues are very concerned about the impact on the deficit. They believe that is anathema to what this Republican Party has been preaching, not for years, but for decades. What do you say about the fact that we're looking at an additional $3 trillion plus by many different estimates over the next 10 years?
Keep in mind, there's going to be a tremendous amount of growth coming out of this package, and we know that was the case.
Those are very much estimates. Those are not guarantees.
Oh, no, of course, there's no guarantee. I mean, I think the Joint Committee on Tax would be the first ones to tell you that these forecasts are always guesses. What we do know is that they missed by $1.5 trillion the extra growth that came out of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. I don't know why we would expect the impact of extending those tax cuts to be any less. And I would also say this. I wish this bill cut more as well. We are $2 trillion upside down every single year. This bill is not as conservative as the one that Dusty Johnson would write. The bill that I would love the most cannot get 218 votes in the House. Politics is the art of
Can this
possible.
bill get 218 votes in the House?
Yeah, it can. I mean, frankly, many people thought that the Senate would be the more difficult gauntlet to run. They were able to secure the votes there, and I have every reason to believe we're going to be able to get them in the House as well.
Congressman Dusty Johnson, I do appreciate you coming on the program.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.